Hey everybody, welcome back to DeBord Room. It's Tuesday night. Big week this week. Got my boy Alex Croghan, the biggest Ohio State fan on this planet, on for this unfortunate episode that I was hoping we'd be talking about something different. But Alex, nice to see you anyway.
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Not too bad. You know, this 20-degree weather is beautiful out here with the wind, so it's fantastic.
It's a little chilly down here, but I think it's still in like the 40s.
It was 30-something this morning. Now it's like 10 with wind chill, so that's always fun. I get so cold, my apartment with my heat on 78, it's still cold in here, so it's kind of rough.
It's 37 for us, so I was close with 41, I guess.
But yeah, big week for you. Your Cleveland Browns are in the postseason.
We slinked in. Yeah.
Your Ohio State Buckeyes did not slink in. They absolutely destroyed Clemson on Saturday night.
Saturday night, yeah.
Saturday night.
Yep, Saturday at 8.
So before we get to that, thank our buddies over at Manscaped, like always. Promo codes at the bottom, DB2020, get 20% off. Check this out from Manscaped. Me and Alex will be right back. All right. Like I said, promo code will be at the bottom of the screen the whole episode. So I'm excited to have you on, but I wish it was for a different. So we could be talking about, Clemson and Bama like I predicted. But we'll start with you. It's your boys. My boys will never be in a championship game in the next 25 years. So the BCS title game, as of right now, it's next Monday. It came out a couple hours ago that they might have to move it due to COVID possible issues. But for now, we're going to roll with it as it's the 11th. So I have an idea of who you got, but what do you think this game is going to come down to?
Honestly, I think what it really is going to come down to is execution on defense for Ohio State. If they play with the same game plan they played with against Clemson, and their defense, their secondary specifically, can stick together and play the type of game that they played against Clemson, I think they have a true chance to beat Alabama. Now, I'm not delusional in the fact that, Alabama and us are the two best teams, right? So it's not like we're playing Clemson, who I felt like has been overrated every year because they only play in the ACC. They literally normally only have one good game a year where they're really tested. This year they happen to have two, and they didn't have Trevor Lawrence when they played Notre Dame, right, the first time. So Notre Dame was a legit contender as far as they were a top 10 team. They weren't a top 4. You saw that, right? I mean, Alabama absolutely dismantled them. And you could say the same thing about Clemson. I don't legitimately think they were a top 4 team this year. Yes, they're talented, but Ohio State only played 6 games, and they absolutely embarrassed them. I mean, it was pitiful. If I'm a Clemson fan, I think, oh no, what is life after Trevor Lawrence? That's legit what my concern would be after that game, because they did not look good even with Trevor Lawrence. And I don't feel that their class coming back, the talent they have coming back next year, is going to really dominate the ACC like they have the past, 5 years. I think Ohio State legitimately has a chance. I think it's going to be a close game, no more than 4 points deciding the game, unless Ohio State doesn't show up, right? Like, because we had a lot of revenge against Clemson.
Yeah.
Right? We had a lot to atone for. The first game was absolutely an embarrassment. The second game we should have won and we let it slip away. So this game was, let's put everything together, all facets of the game, offense, defense, special teams. Let's outplay them on every single snap, which we did, right? Now, we've beat Alabama when we won our national championship, right? It was a semifinal game. It wasn't a national championship game. So I understand there's a difference, right? There's more on the line now, right? Because you're literally one game away from that trophy. But I think Alabama's defense is not as good as everybody thinks it is, right? I think it's another case of similar to Clemson in the fact that they didn't play a lot of talented offenses. Now, they played some really good teams because they play in the SEC, and we know that's where most of the recruits go. It's where a lot of speed's at. That's where great defenses are. But I think the flaw in Alabama this year is their defense. And I think we have a legit shot to beat them. And I gotta roll. You know, I'm a hometown Gomer up to a certain point, right? I'm a realist, but after seeing what I saw against Clemson, how could I pick against Ohio State? I thought this year they were going to be very special. I thought it was a travesty that the rest of the Big Ten decided let's not play, even though every other major conference is playing, right? And Ohio State had to threaten with a lawsuit to get football back. So we only got 6 games. We were supposed to get 7 so that we wouldn't run into the issue we did where they had to pass a special rule for them to get into the Big Ten championship game, right? So yeah, with all that being said, I know I've gone long-winded on this, but I'm a diehard Buckeye fan, always have been my whole life, right? I think even though, you know, my homerness wants to be like, we blow them out. My realistic side thing is I think it's a close game either way. I don't think either team blows either team out. I just think Ohio State at the end of the day has more talent overall on every single position on the field. I think we're a more complete team, right, in all 3 facets of the game. So I think that wins out. I love Jason Day. I'm a huge fan of Day. He was a great pick to, you know, succeed Urban Meyer. Honestly, I think he's probably done a better job than Urban Meyer did, if that's possible, right? I mean, I know Urban won us a national championship, right? But Day in 2 years has made me a believer in his system. He's made me a believer in his recruiting. I think he took everything that Urban Meyer had to offer, and he really put it all into one package. And I think, honestly, he's a better coach in all 3 phases of the game, right? More attention to detail. If that's what I've noticed, there's more discipline in our players. There's not that big letdown or that game where they're like, oh, man, what happened, right? Like Northwestern is a really good team that people doubted.
Every year you guys lose to like Purdue or
Right.
a team that makes no sense whatsoever.
And Northwestern was that team this year, and normally we probably lose that game, right? Because they come in better prepared. Our guys take them for granted, right? But in the second half, he got them laser focused, and we won the game, right? It wasn't pretty.
Well, you figured out all you had to do was run the ball the whole damn time.
Right, exactly.
They couldn't stop the run.
Yeah, Sermon absolutely what if you look what we did against Clemson too.
Run the
Sermon
ball.
had 200 and I think it was 52 yards, I think is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
In 2 games, the guys had 663 yards, I think is what the stat was, or 639. I forget the exact number, but astronomical.
Over 600 yards in 2 games is like insane.
Nuts.
Even in college.
Right. Like, it makes you think if we run the ball with him effectively all year long, maybe he's in the Heisman talk, right?
Did Teague start earlier in the year, though?
Right. Yeah, he did until Master Teague got hurt. Because Sermon's a graduate transfer, right? He played at Oklahoma. He was very successful at Oklahoma, but because of injury, he got 1 more year, and he really wanted to play somewhere, and Oklahoma kind of was, and Ohio State was absolutely, we'll take you. But why not, right? And so he came, and it was a great decision. He's exciting to me as a NFL fan to see what he could do in the NFL.
It's a Right, it's a very weak running back draft this year.
Absolutely. He might be the best running back in the draft.
I haven't seen, I don't even know if there's a running back projected to go in the first 2 rounds. Like, it is a weak. As
I
good
think there's
as the draft was, this one's super weak.
right.
This game's pretty easy for me. I mean, as a Patriots fan, I know this game too long. This pressure. If you guys pressure, get Mac Jones off his spot,
Right.
that makes you guys very likely to win this game. He doesn't get hit. I think he hasn't got sacked in a month. Like, the guy does not get touched back there. And he's got Smith, who's erupted since Waddle got hurt. And there's reports that Waddle might play. And if this game gets pushed back a week, he definitely is probably going to play, according to Saban earlier. And then obviously your boy Fields would have a little more time to rest up from that. He earned my respect. That was a hell of a shot he took in the ribs. And there's not even padding there where he took that shot with the helmet. And he came back in and he threw the deep ball better than he did before he got hit, which is insane.
Well, I mean,
get hit that hard, then come back in and start launching it. But to be fair, Clemson's secondary didn't do a very good job of defending the deep ball either. Every one of your receivers had 2 or 3 yards on the corner. Even some of those that were underthrown, they could wait, grab it, and still have a couple yards.
Yeah.
You guys just blew them out. You guys wanted it more. I think Dabo ranking you guys 11th really pissed off some of your players.
Ooh.
And Ryan Day really does well with the underdog card. He really. And it's funny trying to pull the underdog card. Like I said, referring back to me being a Patriots fan, when Belichick was always trying to pull that a few years ago, everybody just mocks him like, you win every damn year. You're not the fucking underdog. But it's like Ohio State. You've been in the BCS, I think, almost every damn year it's been in existence. You, Bama, and Clemson pretty much, right? It's always been those 3 teams, but they can still play the underdog. This almost feels like who gets the ball last. This could be a 49-45, 42-39, 38-35. I don't know if either team likes playing defense. There's been games this year like Indiana where Penix Jr. threw for 500 yards. There's been games where Bama's gave up. I think the Gators got around 40 points in almost both games. I don't think they quite hit it the second time, but they both give up yards in chunks. I think it's an absolute shootout, but I'm rolling with my future Patriots quarterback, Mac Jones, and him winning this game. And, dude, the Heisman. Who do you got winning the Heisman? That's tomorrow. When is the Heisman? Next week?
I think it's next week. I'm pretty sure it's next week. Hold on, I'll look it up.
Ask Lawrence, Devontae Smith, and is it bad I can't remember the other guy?
You said Mac Jones, right?
No, that's it, Mac Jones. So Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, Trevor Lawrence, and Kyle Trask. So I think Devontae Smith should win the Heisman and be the first receiver, and I can't even remember how long to win the Heisman.
Oh, it says Tuesday. So I think it's tonight at looks like 7 p.m.
So we might know before this is over.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
it is tonight at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't think there is a person more deserving than Devontae Smith this year. To me, he's next level, right? It looks like literally an NFL guy playing against college guys, right? I mean, he's that good. His route running is outstanding. He can run every route in the tree. His hands are absolutely phenomenal. His contested catch, his leaping ability, everything. He's the next line of outstanding Alabama wide receiver coming to the NFL, right? I mean, you had Julio, you got Calvin, now him, right? It's just like they put out wide receivers, right? I mean, they really
offensive. Look at Harris.
Every position. I mean, you're getting all 5-star recruits, but the guys that stand out are obviously the position guys, right? Like, so wide receiver is a big one, and then Derrick Henry, right? I mean, you have, I think you have 5 or 6. At the beginning of the year, you had 5 or 6 running backs from Alabama starting in the NFL.
Yeah, they had like Kamara. Who was the other one? They had 3 in the same backfield. And it was like
what's his name from used to play for New Orleans, now plays for the Ravens.
Ingram.
Ingram. J.K. Dobbins has supplanted him, right? But it was Ingram, Henry, Kamara,
and it's going to be Harris.
Drake.
Kenyon Drake, Eddie Lacy. I mean, they go back.
Yeah, I mean, even the guy we drafted from Ohio, from Alabama, 3rd overall. It's terrible. I can't remember his name.
We got Damian Harris, who is the 3rd round back at Alabama in New England, and he was probably our best running back, and he's probably going to start next year. I mean, it's insane. And then you have Waddle, who I've been paying attention to drafts because New England actually has a pick worth of shit this year and didn't get taken away from some kind of rule violation, so it's nice. Waddle's still projected to go ahead of Smith in a lot of these drafts. One draft had him falling to 22, which I can never see that happening. Bleacher Report, you get on your game. That's just blatantly awful. I think he's going 3 to Miami if they don't take Chase from LSU, but I think the ability to team him up with Tua would be too hard to resist. You go Ohio State, I go Bama, but I want your thoughts on this because you talked about him earlier, and apparently he might be making that leap any day now. Your boy Urban Meyer. He's putting a staff together. So I'm sitting at home, getting ready to watch. I was watching some college football game last Saturday, and it was Adam Schefter reports Urban Meyer's been putting a staff together for about a couple of weeks now down in Jacksonville. They got the first pick, about $100 million in cap space. They got a few good players. James Robinson busted onto the scene this year. DJ Chark, Chanel, I can never pronounce his name, but they have a couple good
Chanel, yeah.
Allen on the defense. They have a couple nice pieces. Do you think it's a good move for Urban to take this NFL now?
If you'd have asked me prior to the fiasco at Ohio State, I would have said, yeah, I think he's a good fit in the NFL. I don't think if I'm an owner or a university, I'm not hiring Urban Meyer, period. What am I going to get? A max of 3 to 5 years maximum out of him where he's going to be burnt out, have migraines. The only good thing you don't have to worry about, there's no recruiting violations, right? There's no there's no outside influence that can take him off the field as far as he can violate rules or anything like that. But listen, I was a diehard Urban Meyer fan. I was so excited when he came back to Ohio State, right? Because a lot of people don't know that's where he got his roots from, right? He was a coaching assistant. That was one of his first jobs in football. And he was very, people knew he was going to be a bright mind. Then he went to the dark side and went to Florida after he had success at Utah, right? He's a brilliant mind. I don't know if I'm going to give him $12 million a year and then be concerned that after 2 years he's too overworked. The things that have made him walk away 2 times now from, blue blood programs in college, because he made Florida really, I get it. Steve Spurrier was successful there, but Urban Meyer really made them like a blue blood, right? Like a perennial contender. No matter what, whoever he had, he knew how to get talent. He was an amazing recruiter. In the NFL, you're stuck with the guys you can draft, right? And I've never been impressed with his player development. I've been impressed with the talent that he can find and recruit when you don't have a salary cap and you're not concerned with drafting order. So I'm torn on this. I think he'll be successful, but for how long?
I think it's a terrible move. He's too for both sides. One, Schefter came out, or not Schefter, but Rappaport came out and said the report of $12 million was inaccurate, and that's not what he's asking for, which would actually have him making more money than Bill Belichick, which that's kind of absurd for a guy. Granted, you're Jacksonville and you have to overpay to get a guy because you're the Jaguars. Like, you're a Browns fan. So it's like me being a Cavs, well, you're a Cavs fan as well, but if you want to get a key guy, you're going to have to overpay because nobody wants to come to Cleveland.
Or you got to wait 2 years till they're out of their prime, and then you get a shell of what you had.
But there's a lot of good coaches out there. a lot of good coaches. I would go Joe Brady myself.
What about Ben-Ami?
Ben-Ami's going to be so hot. I don't think Ben-Ami can turn down Houston. Now, the reports are that Houston has yet to contact him. I have no idea what the hell they're waiting for. Quarterback's already in place. The top jobs to me, now that it was Jacksonville, but the Chargers is open. You have your franchise quarterback there. You got Eckler, Williams, Allen. Allen's locked up long-term. Bosa's locked up long-term. Derwin James is coming back. 13th pick, and they have $30 million in cap space. What more do you want? If they can stay healthy, that's a perennial playoff team.
This is really the first year I don't remember catastrophic injuries there. Yeah, Derwin James got hurt, right? Bosa got hurt, but it wasn't.
Taylor missed most of the year,
right? But it wasn't guys that like, oh man, are they going to come back the same way? They were injuries, but they weren't.
Anthony Lynn had to go. His time was done.
See, I thought Anthony Lynn deserved one more year. And the only reason I say that is for the sake of Justin Herbert, for his development, the consistency and continuity of a system. Not, here he goes again, his second year now. He's got a new coordinator, a new coach. He's got to learn new verbiage. He's got to learn new, So we might see a sophomore slump from Herbert, who I told everybody at the beginning of the draft, I feel like he's going to be the best quarterback out of the draft. Overall, longevity-wise, potential-wise, talent-wise, he's got all the intent. And look, if Burrow doesn't get hurt, it's a very close race for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
It is.
For sure.
It was week to week. 1 week, I'd say it's Burrow. The next week, Herbert. It's like the MVP as Rodgers or Mahomes. So who had the best game?
But at the end of the day, Burrow wasn't going to win as much as Herbert did, right? They went 7-9. So Herbert's probably going to win it, even if Burrow's healthy. You know how that works, right? You can't be the MVP if you don't win, right? You're not in the playoffs.
Jefferson would win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Listen, what he did as a rookie is phenomenal. And
how many of Randy Moss's records did the kid have to break? Like Randy Moss, I think people forget how great he was.
Well, it's not just Randy; he's breaking some of Jerry's too.
Like he's going to be so damn good, and he's catching the ball from Kirk Cousins. He was screaming, "What the Kurt?" in the end zone. We heard him on. They had him mic'd. Like he's getting in. He's not getting good quarterback play, and he's still balling. Kirk Cousins can sling it, but he forgets who he plays for half the time and slings it to the wrong team and overthrows. He's very sporadic. Sometimes he looks fantastic. But most of the time, he's 50-50. So I think a few years ago, he led the league in completion percentage. Then the year after, he's almost under 50. He's so inconsistent.
He's the overpaid Ryan Fitzpatrick to me.
Yeah, he's what Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Sometimes you get Fitzmagic, and sometimes you get Fitztragic. It's just what guy's going to show up that day, right? And, you saw Miami trusted Fitzpatrick more.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick is incredibly talented.
He was the closer.
He just isn't consistent, right? We've seen that over and over. You can't tell me the guy's had as many unbelievable games and moments as he's had in his career as a quasi starter, right? Because every week it feels like every team he's played for every week, he's on the verge of becoming the backup, right? And so the guy's had phenomenal moments. He's just inconsistent. That's been his curse his entire career. And so, yeah, I think Urban Meyer is a mistake. Ultimately, he's going to get overpaid, and you're going to get maybe 3-year run out of him before he realizes that NFL is more stress than college. There's more to deal with. And if you're going to pay him that kind of money, is he going to want some kind of GM role as well?
Yeah,
he's going to want some kind of power. He's not going to want to get his first real chance at this and be like, "Oh, I want to listen to this guy." Like he could end up with a Howie Roseman who's going to hose him and not be able to draft well, and he's going to trust himself more. And a lot of people don't know this, but Urban Meyer is super cocky, and because the media portrays him so well, because he knows how to play the game. But being an Ohio State fan, I'm in all kinds of chat rooms, and I learn a lot more than normal fan that just tunes in on Saturday. And there were multiple incidents with his cockiness that offended high dollar alumni, friends of the program, that type of stuff, because he can't help himself. Most of these guys do have a cockiness to them because you don't get to be where they're at without ultimate confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how do you go out every Saturday or Sunday and perform the way they do? Professional athletes in general, right? There's some cockiness to them. Same thing with coaches, because they're dealing with these egos all the time. They have to feel like I'm the smartest guy in the room. To get these guys to follow them the way they do, right? So does that work? From what I understand, Khan is a very hands-on owner, and he's very nosy into the inner workings of which, listen, he's a billionaire. It's his team. He's got the right to, right? I mean, look what Jerry Jones does, right? Nobody's worse than him. But is Urban Meyer going to be able to succeed in that? Because ultimately, the owner is not the president of the university, right? He's the owner. He's the end all be all. What he says is what he says. So is he going to be able to handle that kind of control, over him, even though let's say he gets the GM and the head coaching position, right? We saw how well that's worked out. It hasn't worked out except for Bill Belichick.
Chip Kelly comes to mind right away.
Yeah. Jim Kelly, look at what's happened in Las Vegas. I mean, look what happened in Houston. There's multiple, reasons to not give, especially a new head coach in the NFL, that kind of power.
Yeah, and he doesn't, like you said, he screams 2 or 3 year, and Jacksonville's going to need a long-term fix. Now, could he transition to the GM-only role because he loves being in Florida, and he could hire a Ryan Day in 2 or 3 years? Ryan Day's came out. He was the backup plan reportedly for this job, but he's like, not right now. I have no interest, and he shouldn't. He's got a powerhouse in there. But in 2 or 3 years, Urban calls him like, listen, man, we got Trevor Lawrence down here. We got James Robinson a couple more years, like Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. I'm not convinced that he's not going to be like, listen, man, I don't want Trevor. Let's trade this top pick, accumulate shit tons of more draft picks. Let's go I could take Fields or Zach Wilson and do just as well. But I feel like it's Fields or Trevor. I still think they're going to take Trevor Lawrence.
The Ohio State connection with Justin Fields really is intriguing if he takes that job.
And I wonder
because
that's brought up. You have to imagine that's brought up. Like, listen,
for sure. Yeah. And if they could trade back to the 2, what would the Jets be willing? They'd be willing to mortgage their future to get Trevor Lawrence again. Well, they idiotically.
It might not even be them, because reports are there that the new coach, they want him to be all in with Sam Darnold, so they could accumulate more. That's what the report was yesterday, because I wrote an article about this. So I researched like 3 hours about it, and the Wilson, who's about to be a lot more hands-on, they said, because he's coming back from overseas or some shit. I don't know what he's been doing. He'd been watching the football team. They've been absolute shit this year. They can't even lose right. But you got Detroit, Atlanta, who are teams that could definitely be moving on with Stafford and Matt Ryan being shopped during the season. Or you have somebody will jump to go grab Lawrence at 1. And you could probably stockpile. Houston Texans got 2-1, or they gave up 2 1s and 2 2s for Laramie Tunsil. What do you think Trevor Lawrence can pull?
Oh, yeah, I mean, everybody, by all accounts, Trevor Lawrence is a better prospect, but everybody says he's the best prospect since Andrew Luck. So imagine what Andrew Luck could have got if they would have, if the Colts would have traded that pick. So, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, they might be talking 3 number 1s, right? Or 2 number 1s and a solid piece and maybe a 3. Who knows what you could get? I mean, if you shop the pick, sure. But I think the Jaguars have to come out of this draft with a franchise quarterback to even entice Urban Meyer to come there. What is he going to do? He's not going to run his offense with a non-athlete, right? I understand his offense is going to evolve and adapt. He can't run the same thing he ran at Ohio State, but he needs an athletic quarterback. So either one, Trevor Lawrence or Fields. Like I told you, if you read 9 of the 10 experts on quarterbacks, whatever that's worth, there is such a slim margin between Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. It's barely noticeable if you read everything that they talked about. Now, I know you have your opinion on Justin Fields, right? And everybody does because he's an Ohio State quarterback. And we do not have a good record with Ohio State quarterbacks.
All I've said,
unfortunately,
he's your last hope.
Right, but unfortunately, every team in the NFL overdrafts Ohio State quarterbacks.
They do.
Right? I mean, we knew what Haskins was if you asked around Ohio State, right? He needed another year for development, which he didn't get. And you saw the unprofessionalism that we dealt with at Ohio State that was kept under the rug because nobody wants their franchise quarterback to be tarnished, right? These are similar things he had in Washington that happened at Ohio State, being late for meetings, not paying attention in meetings, not studying the tape, not doing his homework. All that stuff was at Ohio State. Yeah, multiple incidents.
To Rivera's credit, he gave him a lot of chances.
Oh, he did. He didn't want to give him an unfair shake, and the talent is there with Haskins, right? There is talent. You don't throw for 50 touchdowns in college football with the type of offense that we ran, which we changed to a more pro style to fit his abilities. You don't do that with Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer's not going to change his system for you unless you're worth it.
You know, it'd be funny. They take an offensive tackle and sign Dwayne Haskins.
No, please don't. Not for the Jaguars' hope. Please don't.
All right, so we'll segue into where I ultimately think Dwayne Haskins will end up, and that's your opponent when do you play them? Sunday night, I think, right?
Yeah.
I think Dwayne Haskins will ultimately be up in Pittsburgh next year backing up Ben. I think that'd be a great spot for him. But your team got in, like you said earlier, barely, 24-22. The unfortunate news out today is COVID's again. Stefanski's out. Your starting your Pro Bowl guard, Joel Bitonio's out. Some receiver that does some receiver it really don't matter because I never even heard of him. Denzel Ward's out. Some big net. Those are 2 huge losses just right there.
Yeah.
So what is your expectations for Cleveland? Now, I know from my perspective, but I've watched football for so long, I understand football doesn't work this way. It's a week-to-week game. But you struggled with Mason Rudolph. So there's no chance in hell you're going to beat Ben.
We struggled with Mason Rudolph and 9 other backups that weren't the key backups, which were on defense. And we still struggled. I mean, TJ Watt wasn't in the game. What do you think he's going to do to that offensive line without Joe Antonio? They're going to come after Baker with everything they got. I expect, he struggles with pressure, like 98% of the quarterbacks in the NFL, right? But it's more for him because he's so short, which was one of my issues with him from the beginning of the draft. Not just his talent level, not just that I thought he had reached his ceiling before we drafted him. I think we have what we have in Baker. I don't think we're going to get any more. There's no progression I see coming out of him, right? I just think he is what he is. Either he's going to be, I'm feeling dangerous, and he's going to be phenomenal and light the world on fire, or he's going to be absolutely god-awful and struggle through the game and look lost and not look like an NFL quarterback. I think it's one or the other. I just think that's what he is, unfortunately. Listen, I wasn't excited about this game before this announcement. I was excited we made the playoffs. I think as a Cleveland fan, especially a football fan in Cleveland, we needed to make the playoffs to get that monkey off of our back. You can't win without winning, right? I know that doesn't make sense, but if you think about it, right, you can't get used to winning in a franchise that has been horrendous since they rejoined the NFL, unless you actually win. And I was happy that we went 11-5 instead of 10-6 like I predicted. But that last win is kind of a shallow win because we didn't really play the Pittsburgh Steelers. We played a couple of the starters and then a bunch of backups. And we barely hung on in true Cleveland fashion, right? We barely hung on. It's like the cardiac kids, but it's like all over again.
Even Sunday, though, man,
Oh, listen.
Can come out this week, Miles.
If Stefanski does.
Burger, and then you're up 14-0 like that. You guys need to run the damn ball.
If Stefanski goes back. So this is what I think. Stefanski's putting a lot of tape out there of throwing the ball, with the idea in the playoffs, how do you win games? Defense and rolling the ball and control the clock. Stefanski is a very smart coach. It's proven as a coordinator and now as a head coach. You don't turn around the team the way he did as soon as he did without having your players bought in, without understanding how to motivate players. To me, Baker has been a better quarterback this year under him than he has been his entire career. Even though he did so well his rookie year, he's progressing through his reads at a better rate than he had before. He's making better decisions. If he could hold on to the ball, he could make even better decisions. But I think Stefanski has the plan of run the ball and live or die with it. He does it. The last thing we need as Cleveland fans is to get in there against a division rival and get blown off the field. And I mean absolutely slobber knock murdered.
That's what happened the first time you played Pittsburgh earlier in the year.
Which will happen again if we go in there with Baker trying to throw the ball 40 times.
Yeah, there's
too much talent on that defense, and there's too many offensive weapons. You saw that. And we couldn't barely stop Johnson, who came out of nowhere this year, with Ward on the field, let alone Claypool, let alone Juju Smith-Schuster, let alone Connor. Their offense their offense looked like it was back against us with Mason Rudolph, who is, for whatever he is, not a starter in the NFL. So I don't have a lot of faith, but as you said, any given Sunday, I just pray that even if we lose, which obviously, as you know, a fan, I want us to win, right? I know we have the talent. Is the game plan implemented correctly? Do we have enough horses left in the stable once COVID is done rating it, right? To compete on defense. That's my major concern. And I just want it to be a close game, but I have the Steelers winning. It's almost unheard of to beat a team twice in a year if you were the team that struggled, right? Mm. And so this will be the third game, right? So there's plenty of film to see what worked and what didn't work. And if you're the Steelers, you realize we had 10 guys that normally start for us that were not on the field. We pretty much did what we wanted on offense with our limitations at quarterback. Our defense was very stout for having 9 backups on it. Now I have 9 starters back. What do I do, right? And then now Bitonio's out. Now Denzel Ward's out. Like, who's going to stop T.J. Watt on that offensive line?
That's going to be the problem. That's how you stop it by running the ball. So I would give Hunt and Chubb the ball 20, 25 times each. Baker thrives off play action. Surprisingly, the most surprising player for you guys, for me, was Donovan Peoples-Jones from Michigan, because he completely underachieved at Michigan the whole time he was there. He's, I think, the highest recruit they've had since Jabril Peppers, another guy you guys had on your team drafted from there. But him and Landry in the OBJ addition by subtraction thing, I got Pittsburgh in a cloose one.
Look at Higgins too. Higgins has been phenomenal.
Beckham being out, just hell, Njoku's catching passes again.
It opened the field up.
Yeah.
Baker's not focusing on one side of the field anymore. If you look,
I already told you it's going to be Stephon Gilmore traded straight up for OBJ. You guys will take that extra $4 million cap hit, restructure his deal. We'll get OBJ. We'll get a receiver, and then you guys get another corner to put with Ward.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I told you, I would be 100% okay. I mean, but the issue, and also you got to think about too, we have 3 of our secondary already out with season-ending injuries, right? We lost Greedy Williams, who I thought was going to be absolutely phenomenal this year. We lost, oh man, I'm blanking. The safety that we drafted last year.
Well, then you went out and got that dude from Jacksonville
who couldn't stop a wet paper bag, who is always out of position, who every game gives up a crucial touchdown or gets beat every single game. I don't know what he's doing on the field.
There's a lot of Patriots like that. Before we get to the last 2 things, one hit before we talk about the games, let me get this out of the way. This is the last time I will be talking about them until the draft. I've been working on a lot of stuff article-wise for New England's draft, so I'm going to wait. All right, so everybody's like, man, how do you feel not making the playoffs? The fact we ended up 7-9 this year is kind of amazing if you really sit down and think about it. Coming into the year, the greatest quarterback of all time, in most people's eyes at least, leaves $32.5 million in dead cap. 29.5 of it to Gronk, Brady, and Steven Gostkowski, who are all playing on other teams this year. And I think $750K was to Antonio Brown, Tom Brady's new roommate. So then you sign Belichick, apparently seen Jared's not the guy. Signs Cam late, no training camp, hard offense to learn. Ask Ocho Cinco. He never did learn it in a full year. And with the training camp, Cam balled out the first 2 weeks, got COVID. Did it destroy him? Possibly. Did it derail his whole rest of the year? Probably not. You don't miss the receiver by that much just because you had COVID. Would an offseason help? Sure. Would Demarius Byrd and Jacoby Myers being your 2 best receivers probably hurt you a little bit? Absolutely. I don't expect him to be back, but you had 8 opt-outs, including 3 huge starters on defense. Brady's gone. Gronk was already gone, but then they trade him away, barely get anything back. No training camp hurts New England more than anybody because Belichick doesn't trust rookies ever. He doesn't play rookies. James White and Shane Vereen were redshirted there for rookie year. He redshirts. He's basically like a college. If you're a first-round pick and you're not a top 15 guy like a Gerard Mayo, Richard Seymour, Ty Warren, he's not going to play you. Josh Uche from Michigan, who ended up playing really well at the end of the year, didn't even play until about week 10. He was injured for the first 6 or 7, but they didn't even make him active. Chase Winovich in his second year, they didn't play him till I think he only averaged 25% of the snaps. He led the team in sacks. That's what their defense was like. The offensive line was banged up most of the year. I mean, Sonny Michel got hurt. Then Damian Harris missed the first half of the year. Michel got hurt in the middle. Harris, they just never got it together. Cam was inconsistent. The fact they became 7-9, for me, I'll take it. I had high hopes for them coming into this year, but when you have the greatest coach ever, why wouldn't I? It's a respectable year. Came up obviously short, but with the 15th pick in the draft and roughly $80 million in cap room, this could be a very quick turnaround depending on whether they come out with Jimmy G, who I wrote about the other day. I want Matthew Stafford. And then you take $15 million and throw it at Kenny Golladay. That way you have some consistency because Stafford knows him very well from Detroit. 2 needs are hit. Your opt-out players come back. You could be good to go again, but we'll see. Let's talk to a team that we both like, that I think actually can make the playoffs, even though they got their asses kicked last night. The Cavaliers look respectable. I watched them play a little bit Saturday against Atlanta, and it looks like Atlanta took their foot off the gas, and the Cavs made them pay. The Cavs have – it just came out. Dante Exum is out for 2 months. That's kind of rough because he was playing actually really well in that backup shooting guard role. But you got Sexton, Garland. Garland didn't play last night. Love's out. First round top 5 pick Okoro is out. They're battling some injuries right now / resting players because COVID season, everything. There's a lot of back-to-back games this year. Still a young team. I think Bickerstaff's actually the right coach. Drummond's a great fit. I really wish they'd extend him, even though I have a bad feeling if they do fly out of contention, he'll be shopped and traded right away, even though he fits their offense perfectly. Do you think they can squeeze in that 7 or 8 spot? Because I think right now they're the 6th. They're 4-3.
Yeah, I listen. I think they have a good chance to go 500 or maybe 2 to 3 games above 500 this year. I think the talent's there. I think they could be the 8th seed in the East and maybe make it a series, maybe make it a 6 or 7 game series. They're not pushovers.
No, they play hard. They play for their coach. That's the difference. The coach they had last year, the 98-year-old man out of Michigan, these Michigan coaches are killing me, dude, no matter where I go, no matter who I root for. Next, when Belichick retires.
I didn't understand that hire to begin with.
Are you ready for when Belichick retires and they hire Jim Harbaugh in New England and I lose my damn mind?
No, I mean, you already got your why would old boy be sitting there at an offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, for years if he's not already going to be the start, the head coach? I think you'll be fine in that aspect. But Beheim, right? That's how you say his last name, right? He didn't make sense from the beginning. I mean, he was out of touch with his Michigan players, which is why he was gone. What makes you think he's going to be successful in the NBA and not in touch with them?
It's like we just said Urban Meyer was a bad idea. At least he was successful.
Yeah.
Jim Boeheim's older.
And not successful in that realm to that degree that Urban Meyer was.
David Blatt. The moves they make. Kevin Love's contract. I mean, Larry Nance has been our best player this year. And Colin averaging almost 27 points a game, which we knew he was going to be good. He's just been – him and Garland are the same player, but they actually work. They figured it out in the offseason. Osman's playing well off the bench. Okro looked like a defensive stuffer, but then he hurt his foot and he's out. Kevin Love's hurt, which I think we were talking over text. Kevin Love needs to come off the damn bench. That's instant scoring off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he's not Kevin Love from the Timberwolves. He's not even Kevin Love first 2 years in Cleveland. He's an older, slower, still can get points and rebounds, but not what he was, and he's not a starter anymore.
The defensive liability. He's injury prone as hell. And his 3 years, $90.1 million price tag. I only know that because I was on that trade thing on ESPN.com trying to trade him earlier and see what we could get. It's rough. But he could get you 20 and 10 off the bench and play 28 to 33 minutes. Then if he's not, because I'd rather Larry Nance start. We have him under contract a few more years. But I'm with you. I think 7 and 8 is doable in the East. 500 typically gets you in. The Magic made it last year, 4 games under 500, and they took game 1 from Milwaukee. Granted, they lost the next 4.
Right.
Look at Orlando now. They're 5-2, and they're actually the 2nd seed in the East. So I think the basketball is going to be different this year. Brooklyn's struggling. They came out of the gate hot, but they're struggling.
Yeah, I mean, I think Brooklyn finally – they got too much talent to not probably be the number 1 seed. I think they are the most talented team in the East. I honestly would be interested to see if Miami doesn't somehow get a second star down there this year. You know, Pat Riley's like a leprechaun. He always makes something happen, the right move at the right time. I would be amazed if they don't get another player down there in Miami with Jimmy Butler.
It'd have to be a deal because do you see the price tag that Houston wants for James Harden?
Listen, I don't want James. If I'm a Miami fan, stay away from that guy. He hasn't worked anywhere. They got rid of him in Oklahoma City because he wanted too much money, and they saw the trouble on the horizon. Everybody says, "Oh, what that team could have been." You had 2 cancers, Westbrook and Harden, on that same team. There's a reason why Kevin Durant left. It wasn't just because he didn't think he could win there. It's because he didn't want to deal with either one of those clowns. So now you're going to trade him again. I mean, he wants out of Houston because nobody works in Houston with him, but it's because they don't work with him. He's like Mike D'Antonio. Everybody thinks D'Antonio's a great coach and offensive genius. He doesn't win when it counts. He doesn't get you in the playoffs and win in the playoffs. That system doesn't work. And for what it is, Harden, yes, he's very talented. He's got some MVPs. I get all that. But his style of basketball, his very clunky style of basketball, very ball-centric, me, it doesn't work with another star. So I don't want him in Miami, even if the price tag is favorable, because they're not going to get that price tag from Harden. Nobody's paid you so far. They're not going to pay you right. They're not going to pay you. You know,
Well, you're pairing him with another guy who struggles to get along anywhere he has been in the past as well. Butler struggled at the end of Chicago. He was a cancer. In Philadelphia, he didn't work, and he's finally in a spot in Miami where he's flourishing. They just were in the finals. I think Beal's a better fit. The price tag, they were talking Hero, Duncan Robinson, Gordon Dragic, and draft picks. Like Miami's not a contender if you give up all that. No, for Harden.
Oh yeah, no. I don't think
I'm not trading Tyler Hero. I'm not trading Tyler Hero for anything.
I don't think Harden's worth any of those players.
Tyler Hero's not him. Jimmy Butler and Bam to me are untouchable. I'll give you Duncan Robinson and Gordon Dragic for Bradley Beal, and I'll throw in some picks and some good young players or whatever. Not a chance in hell I'm giving you Tyler Hero for anything. That dude just balled out last year. He's 20 years old. I'm a Kentucky fan.
There's way too much talent there to let it go that age.
Dude can shoot. All right, we'll end with this before we get to the playoffs games this week. Big story out of the NFL. Jalen Hurts gets benched. At the end of the game, Doug Peterson's getting a bunch of shit for it. I know you guys will cover it more tomorrow on Game Winning Drive. I know Drew's all fired up about it. I don't really see the big deal here. I just don't. I get why the Eagles players are mad, and yet should he have said something to them? I don't know. I wasn't in the locker room. He might have. I have no idea. Fletcher Cox didn't seem that upset on social media about it when he was making fun of Eli, right? I don't think it's that big of a deal unless you're a Giants fan. Giants fans, you're angry. You didn't make the playoffs. You went 6-10. In a logical, you should never make the playoffs being 6-10 ever. The fact you're crying about it is bothersome. You won 6 games this year. In the NBA, you wouldn't even make the playoffs because you're not even a top 8 in your conference. The fact that the Miami Dolphins are sitting there at 10-6 and didn't make the playoffs, and Washington sitting there at 7-9 and did, is kind of bizarre. But granted, divisions, whatever. I didn't see it as that big of a deal. You go from having the 9th pick to the 6th, which, the Eagles, how many needs do they have? Receiver, linebacker, offensive line, quarterback, still a question with, Wentz is Hurts the guy. He looked like shit Sunday. He didn't look he was 7 of 21. Who's to say they didn't make a good call pulling him? Yeah, he ran 2 touchdowns. And to be fair, I went back and checked because I don't trust anybody. Peterson said after the game, he said all week he was going to play Sudfeld. He did say it like every damn news conference last week, and he did play him. He didn't say when. Was it an opportune time? Sure. But are you going to be like the Giants last year who won their last game? It took them out of the Chase Young sweepstakes, and guess where Chase Young is? Is it worth losing that potential franchise kind of player to win a pointless game and get the 4-11-1? Or is it, fuck the Giants. I don't like them anyway. Or the Eagles. I think they would have did the same thing to Dallas too. My dad's a Cowboys fan. He was really pissed they didn't challenge that incomplete pass. And I told him yesterday, I was like, you probably would have been a lot more pissed off if you would have won and the Eagles would have thrown the game because it just would have made it hurt even more. But I didn't see a big deal with but we live in this world where social media blows everything up. I didn't see the big deal. I would have done the same damn thing. The only thing I would have done different is like, listen, guys, I appreciate all you've done. It's a lost season. Let's regroup. Let's give them all we have. But in the third, I'm pulling half of you, and we're just going to – I can't give up 3 draft picks. 3 draft spots, I should say.
Yeah. I think Howie and Peterson should have been out after this year to begin with. So we're arguing a mute point. He's not a good coach to me. I understand they won a Super Bowl with him. I think it was a magical season that everything just worked out. I mean, Foles is in contracts off of that season still. He still get paid in the NFL when he's a glorified backup and nothing more than that. Yeah. I don't care about the decision because we're bitter rivals. Every team in the NFC East hates the other team with a passion. Why the hell would I help the Giants get into the playoffs when I can lose to the Redskins, benefit my organization, and see if Suck is worth a shit, right? Why would I not get game reps for him? Why would I not? Okay, we see that we could have won this game, but let's take our foot off the pedal. Let's let the Redskins win. They're already in the playoffs. If we do nothing, I don't have to help them get in, right? Why do I care?
They had to win.
But you understand what I'm saying? Like they're already losing to the Redskins.
Well, yeah,
So if they just let the loss happen, I gain more draft capital. Because who's to say with what the Eagles need, they don't trade back out of that 6th pick?
what I'm saying. I was about to say, you have a team that wants to go up and get a Zach Wilson that might fall, or Justin Fields, even though I don't think he will. I mean, I'm going under the assumption Trevor's going number one, whoever the hell coaches. So I'm taking him off the board. But the Jets are staying with Darnold.
Which is baffling to me.
It's the Jets, dude. Everything. That's why in my article about who they should hire for a head coach, I put NA because somebody have to be a jackass to even consider that job. Even though I did send them my resume on LinkedIn, but that's a different story. Not a big deal.
No, yeah, I mean it's a big deal in the fact that you're conceding and you're getting paid a lot of money. So if Philadelphia's fan base is upset, I understand that.
They're always upset, though.
But I'm not I don't care about the Giants or the Cowboys or the Redskins or any other fan base. I care about my fan base and my organization. And his decision, it improved their draft stock. It improved their odds for turning the team around faster, I believe, because I really think they trade out of 6. I don't think they stay at 6 because they need too much. I mean, you're losing Zach Ertz. I mean, they've all but said we're not bringing him back, right? Carson Wentz is probably going to get traded as well, right? What are you going to get? What kind of draft capital are you going to get for Carson Wentz?
Well, look at the roster. They already made 2 moves yesterday. They restructured Malik Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey to where their contracts are nicer if they were to just outright release them and say they're projected to be $73 million over the cap. They don't have any money.
Yeah, they're releasing both of them.
Yeah, they just restructured it so they wouldn't take dead cap hits, and them two could go for free to sign wherever they want. They don't have no money. Carson Wentz is a $35 million cap hit if he doesn't restructure his deal before they move him, which if they do move him, which the rumor reports are the Colts are the favorite because Reich's there, assuming Rivers retires, which I don't think people need to write Rivers off that he's going to retire yet. But technically Rivers is a free agent, so he would
everything that's coming out of Rivers' camp. This is he said, I'm giving it one more go and I'm done. So unless they make it to the AFC Championship, right? And he's like, man, with this and a couple more pieces, I could come back next year and maybe we can legitimately make a run at the Super Bowl, which is the only knock against me is I don't have a ring that makes me a sure ballot first ballot Hall of Famer. So he might come back, but the dude's got 13 kids, right? He at some point he's got to stop playing football because his wife is probably going nuts at home.
He's got a very lucrative contract with Fox on the table to be that second broadcaster to do those second. You have Aikman and Buck. They never had that second guy.
Right.
They said Rivers is NBC. I think CBS already has Drew Brees locked up. Phillip Rivers, they said, be ready. They pretty much just give him a blank check to go to Fox. So
I'd rather listen to
dude,
I'd rather listen to Phillip Rivers.
Can you imagine
Troy Aikman or Joe Buck? I'd rather listen to Phillip Rivers, even though Tony Romo is very insightful, right? I hated him because he was a Cowboys quarterback, right? So I don't want to listen to Romo either, right? So yeah, I enjoy Phillip Rivers. I think he's a funny guy. He's got a lot of personality.
He's a fiery dude,
right? That all shucks too that he's got about him. He doesn't curse. He's very Christian. Like,
him in the booth would be hilarious.
yeah, he's very likable. I think he's going to be very successful.
Imagine him calling a Chargers game.
Oh, geez.
He is, because you know that he's always going to love them. He understands the business. They had Bert, whatever. Yeah, dude, that'll be interesting. So we're going to play one more commercial, and when we come back, Alex is going to be picking these games tomorrow on Game Winning Drive, but we're going to break these games down, and I will be picking these because I don't want to get in trouble with Drew and give away stuff before Game Winning Drive tomorrow. So check out this commercial with all of our social media here at The Buzz, and we will be right back.
Get the Lambo car, house in the hills with the stars. Told you I'd raise the bar, told you that I go far. Baby, it's crystal clear. I'm not a souvenir. I'm not an accessory, I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now. I'm a necessity, so come and check me out now.
Yep, you can follow us at WTB.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media exists, we're there. We're on social media that I didn't even know existed at this point. Whatever the hell TikTok is, I guess we're going there someday too. This was my picks record for the regular season, 159, 93, and 1, not with the spread. I went to Middletown High School. I'm not good at math, so I didn't use the spread this year. All right, Alex, so you already knew where I was going here. I went in order of when the games start. Colts, Buffalo. Yes, Josh Allen was a fantasy football darling, isn't he always? And yes, he blew out teams in games that didn't matter, doesn't he always? It's the playoffs. I got him getting knocked out in the first round by the Colts. It's put up or shut up time for Josh Allen. Yeah, he's probably going to – would you say he'll probably get third in the MVP this year behind Mahomes and Rodgers?
I mean, it probably – Is he deserving though? I mean, I think Derrick Henry.
It's going to be honestly at 3.
I think Derrick Henry is getting a huge snub this year.
He is,
but
it's a quarterback award. Derrick Henry is going to win Offensive Player of the Year.
Sure, I mean it's always the complimentary. You know, you really should have won the MVP, but you're not a quarterback, so here you go. Michael Thomas won it, right, last year. Michael Thomas had an absolute ridiculous year for a wide receiver. It's, top 5 of all-time seasons as a wide receiver. It's the same thing with Devontae Adams. How is Devontae Adams? 18 touchdowns.
And he missed games.
Yeah.
He broke records this year, and he missed 2. I think they said 2 3/4 games this year. One game he left in the first.
Imagine if he'd have played both those games. He might have had a chance at Jerry Rice's 23 touchdown record.
Yeah, I think Rodgers wins the award. But to this game at hand, the Colts got a really good defense. And I don't think Josh Allen's going to be able to sit back there and light them up for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns like he has everybody else the last month. I think Jonathan Taylor and Hines are going to provide a real threat. Jonathan Taylor just ran for 250, and nobody seemed to realize that.
Right.
He had 6 carries for 109 yards at the end of the first quarter. Jonathan Taylor is running well. And I thought that poor kid would be wore out because he got ran to death at Wisconsin.
Oh.
But him and Hines are a very good 1-2 punch. Rivers has found his weapons. Pascal, Michael Pittman Jr., T.Y. has finally came alive.
Woke up.
And then they got Doyle. They kind of use tight end by association now. Cox, Doyle, and Burton. He doesn't really lean on one like he did with Gates because he doesn't have one like Antonio Gates. I think this game is close. I got to see. I said this before the year started. I've said this throughout the whole year. I need to see him win a game in the playoffs before I'm going to sit here and predict him to win one. I got it 24-19. Colts squeak one out. We get started with an upset, which leads to a game that's going to be a blowout. Jared Goff probably isn't playing. So John Warford, I think, is going to play. No Goff equals no chance for the Rams. It's just how it is. They might run the ball with Cam Akers a lot. Aaron Donald's fired up. He's like, this is who we wanted. Aaron Donald can get 4 sacks, and they still can lose. So that's literally what I think is going to happen. I think Donald will keep them in the game because I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with because he's very motivated for this game. But I got Seattle winning 27-16. I think this is the most boring game of the weekend. But there's not a lot to like about this game for me. This is my sleeper game. I think this is the best game of the weekend. And because your boy out in Washington's talking shit about Tom Brady.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, listen, when he ran off the field and said, we want Tom Brady, I was like, what's he supposed to say, right?
I like it, though.
What's he supposed to say, right? Like,
that.
You don't go after the GOAT, man. It's been proven how many times, every time there's been controversy regarding Tom Brady, he's come out and lit people literally on fire, burned their houses down. Like, I don't know. This might be over by halftime.
See, I think this, out of all the NFC East teams, this is the toughest matchup for them because this team can hit the quarterbck.
Yeah, listen, their line, their front seven, because of that front four, is their linebackers are playing lights out as well. Because of
that's the only way you beat Brady. Can you get pressure with 4 without blitzing? Hell yeah, they can. Montez Sweat's like the best kept secret in the NFL too. The dude just hits the quarterback. And
it's pretty easy when you're playing on the other side of Chase Young, who's getting double or triple team as a rookie.
Yeah, then Allen on the line as well.
Oh yeah, listen, their whole line is.
They have the best defensive line in the NFL
by far. I don't even think it's close.
And Chase Young's not even scratched the surface, I don't think, because I heard you guys in Game Winning Drive talking about he's probably way better than the Bosa's.
He's not probably.
The Bosa's are great.
He is.
I need to say Joey is an absolute freak.
Well, Joey is great, but even Joey will tell you Nick is the better Bosa. He said it before Nick even went to Ohio State. He said, wait till remember me talking about this, right? Like, there are multiple clips out there of Joey talking about now, granted, it's his little brother, and he loves him, but that sibling rivalry had to play a part in it to where it probably took him years to admit Nick's a better athlete than me. But can Nick stay healthy? I mean, the Bosa brothers have issues with health.
They do.
Both of them get nicked up every year, right? So it's another J.J. Watt scenario. Do we really think that T.J. Watt is better than J.J.? I don't know, because I never saw J.J. consistently enough. Because imagine if you had J.J. for 16 years, every year of his career so far. What would his numbers look like?
It'd be insane. He would have probably broke the sack record, honestly.
Right. I mean,
the reports that he's probably going to take a huge pay cut to go play for Pittsburgh next year just pisses me off. But
I mean, as an AFC North guy, it scares the shit out of me to have both of them on the same defensive line. It's baffling. I don't want that. I pray to God Houston franchise tags him and doesn't let him out the door.
Be interesting, but as well as I do, Brady's my dude, even though he's been cheating on me for a year, but it wouldn't be the first time somebody cheated on me for a while. Close game. I think it's a really close, entertaining Saturday night game. I really do. Pass rush, I'm going to give Brady issues early. Mike Evans a little banged up. He's expected to play, but I don't expect him to start. The fact they have Antonio Brown really helps them in this because he can start in his place. If Tampa gets up, don't even put Evans in the game. If Tampa looks like they need a little bit of a boost, put Evans in the red zone. You still got Gronk, Brown. Think of all the weapons. Ronald Jones could be back. Oh, he's out. I still got Leonard Fournette. And that Vaughn, is it Vaughn or Barnard, the third down back?
I think it's Barnard.
Yeah, because he was with New England. I was like, he's just like James White because we signed him in New England to replace James White for a few games. And you know how Brady can deke and dunk. I think Brady's got too much. I like Washington's future. Some guy gave me shit over my article because I didn't put Washington as a team that needed a quarterback next year. Ron loves Kyle Allen, and they got out.
Yeah, I mean, you legitimately don't know what you have in Kyle Allen because you didn't get to see him, right?
And last year he went 6-0 and he got hurt with Carolina, and Rivera knows him from there.
But you also have to be scared. 2 seasons, 2 injuries.
That's fair, but then you still have Alex Smith there. And they love this Heineke guy. The reports are today that they're probably going to use both quarterbacks because they love Heineke's running ability because he played really well in that game that they lost a couple weeks ago where they barely lost. That's the only reason that it was the Panthers game because they pulled Haskins out.
Right.
Came in, let him
If
down.
they don't start Haskins, they probably win that game, and they didn't even need that win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nobody would have cared. Jalen Hurts got benched.
Right.
Tennessee and Baltimore. Baltimore's got to be like, damn it, not Derrick Henry again, because all I can remember is him picking up Earl Thomas and throwing him into all. It's like bowling. He picked up Earl Thomas and he threw them into like 3 Ravens. Dude, he's got 300. He's got over 200 yards. 3 out of his last 4 weeks. And Ryan Tannehill is playing a lot better than he was last year. He's throwing the ball deep down the field. He has 2 legit receiving threats now.
Can we admit it wasn't a Ryan Tannehill issue? It was a Adam Gase issue. Or not Adam, Adam Gase, right?
No, he was with the Jets last year. Oh,
no, in Miami.
Yeah,
in Miami.
Absolutely.
It's an Adam Gase issue. I mean, it's not a Tannehill issue.
Well,
we thought it was a Tannehill issue.
Look, that's why the Jets are still not giving up on Sam Darnold. They're probably thinking the same damn thing.
Right. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I thought Tannehill was garbage too. I was like, they gave him all that money. Are you kidding me? What did he do? And he's like, hey, watch this. I'm going to go earn this money, not like most guys who get paid and sit back.
Coach. And Arthur Smith, who's interviewed, he has got interest from every team that needs a coach. They've all requested to interview him. They said he's probably leaning toward Detroit. Well, I don't know why the hell they'd go there, especially if they trade Stafford, but we'll see. He's doing pretty well with an aging quarterback in Ryan Tannehill. I think it's too much for Baltimore. And listen, I'm not being biased because I hate Buffalo. I haven't saw Lamar do shit in the playoffs either. And until I see it, I can't trust him to do it. Lamar puts up a huge goose egg every time he hits the postseason. This year, during the regular season, he struggled most of the year. After that New England game, which I thought they were going to destroy us, he got it back together, but he's still not passing the ball very well. They don't really have a lot of weapons for him. And the only thing they can really do is run, which Tennessee's got pretty stout run defense. And I don't know if your boy Dobbins and Ingram can match Derrick Henry. I just think they have too much on offense for Tennessee. They're at home. Derrick Henry, I think, is going to get like 150, 2 or 3 touchdowns, like 24-17. Then the questions about Lamar will get louder and louder as he's getting close to that. Hey, Baker, Lamar, Darnold, Josh Allen. What are all these guys have in common? The 5th-year option and contract extensions. You're going to have to make a huge decision on these guys.
Listen, I don't care if Lamar Jackson lays a goose egg in this playoff game. He's an MVP candidate. He brings too much to the table. Yes, is he a suspect in the throwing game? To a degree, right? But he gets murdered unfairly. I mean, the guy's thrown 47 touchdowns in the red zone and not 1 interception. So he makes good decisions in places where most great quarterbacks make bad decisions, right? So yeah. I'm not giving up on this kid. As much as I hate the Ravens, I like Lamar Jackson. You cannot tell me that you can't fix his throwing motion, because that's really the issue we have here. Mm-hmm. It's his throwing motion. At Louisville, they didn't care because he was an athlete. Since he's been in the league, they really designed an offense for him to run first, pass second. So he hasn't had to focus or have a coach focus on his throwing motion. But I think this is the year in the offseason that maybe he puts it together. Maybe you see a different throwing motion or a more relaxed presence in the pocket, because he's still looking down the field. Perfect example is that throw to Hollywood Brown against us where the secondary broke down the coverage and he laid a dime into Hollywood Brown, who, by the way, in that game against us, dropped 4 passes, which we're probably not even close if he catches one of those 4 passes. Yeah. So he does make plays, but give the guy a true number 1 before you start talking crap about him, right? Everybody dogged on Josh Allen. Oh, his deep ball, blah, 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 da. He can't throw. He leads the league in deep ball accuracy this year with the addition of Stephon Diggs.
Well, that's why I'm going to be harder on Josh. If he goes and loses in the first round,
listen, if Josh Allen loses in the first round this year, he loses every bit of credibility that he has gained with the doubters of him by doing that, right? They're clearly the better team than the Colts. Let's be honest.
Loaded. He doesn't have weapons. He has two solid backs, a great.
You also forget they were a number 3 defense last year, and they really have a lot of the same players and have been playing much better since week 10 or 11, I think it was. If you really look at their
defense since week 10 is the stat. They were.
Yeah, they haven't given up more than 20 points only in one game since week 10, right? I mean, so I'm not going to give my pick, but you can tell where I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, sounds like you're leaning toward the Colts, which is a good move. This game's easy. Saints blow the Bears out.
Oh, you're taking the Bears? I like it.
Saints blow them out. Kamara's
upset of the week.
I like Mitch. I think he should. I think the Bears wouldn't have not even been competing for a playoff spot last week had they not benched him earlier in the year, because you see how much better the offense flows through him. David Montgomery, his yards per carry went up by, I think, 2.7 yards. David Montgomery's been one of the top 5 running backs over the last 6 weeks in the NFL. He's been balling. He carried my fantasy team most of the second half of this season. That's how I know he's been balling out. But Kamara's back. Breeze wins a Super Bowl. He's in that top 3-4 argument legitimately. And like you said about Rivers, I think this is Breeze's last season.
Well, I mean, there's
regardless.
Same thing. His camp has basically said, we're done. Right? Yeah. Now, Rivers, if they lose in the NFC Championship game, right, to the Packers, right, let's say, maybe he does come back for one more year, because I think Drew understands he's a Dan Marino in the fact that, yeah, he does have a ring, right? But a lot of people just look at him, he's a stat guy. He's just got all the stats. And also, too, I think the competitiveness of him, because he's ultra competitive, right? Yeah, just like Tom Brady. He doesn't want Tom to break all his records. So he knows he's got to probably stay one more year because Tom's coming back next year. Yeah. There's no doubt. Now, is Tom in Tampa? I don't know for sure. I think it's the most logical sense. But who's to say if Drew doesn't retire, Sean Payton doesn't call up Tom and say,
what I'm saying.
Guess what? You want to come down here and play with all these toys?
And Ronald Jones, free agent. Chris Godwin, free agent.
Yeah.
Joe Brown, free agent. Gronkowski, free agent. I mean, there's nothing literally keeping him here. He controls his own option. That'll be something to discuss. I think he'll stay. Honestly, I hope the Rams win against Seattle. That way we get Saints Tampa in round 2. And then we go for the third time, because we all know the last time Saints beat the living hell out of Tampa Bay. And then you're either going to get Breeze, Brady, potentially. I mean, if the Rams play Green Bay, who do you think is going to win? Rodgers versus Brady or Breeze in that NFC Championship game. That's what the Fox is going to want. That's what us as fans are going to want. And how great would it be to see Breeze go? How better way to go and beat Brady, beat Rodgers? And I'm guessing most people think Mahomes is going to be chilling there in the Super Bowl. So what better way to go out? Because they could have beat the Chiefs when they played.
Oh, yeah. Listen, if he goes out with that chopping block, right, beating Brady, beating Rodgers, and then capping it off with beating Mahomes, he's guaranteed top 2 to top 3 quarterbacks all time, because nobody will have that lineage of all great time quarterbacks that they beat in one playoff run.
Not to mention
to win a Super Bowl
3 times in 1 year.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Now, I selfishly want to see Rodgers and Mahomes, because I think that will be one of the most spectacular Super Bowls of all time.
You have State Farm, don't you?
No, absolutely not. I'm a USA guy. I'm military, man.
State Farm wants that shit too. If that ends up,
listen, I get you, but
I think they got something planned there.
I hate the Packers and Aaron Rodgers from that aspect, like as a fan wise, right? But as a fan of the game of football, wanting to see what I think is 2 of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And I know Mahomes is early on in his career, but you can't argue with the talent, right? It looks like he's playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers 90% of the time, right? I just think that would be phenomenal because if it's a close game at the end of the game and Rodgers has got the ball, God help you, right? If it's a close game and Mahomes has got the ball at the end of the game, God help you, right? It's like you're going to be on the edge of your seat. It's going to be who has the ball last, like we talked. You know what I mean? I really think that would be one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time.
It would. If you end up with Brady, Mahomes, Rodgers, Mahomes, Breeze, Mahomes, anything like that, it'll work.
It's just sad that we couldn't get a Brady Breeze Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right, because he's in the NFC in the same division.
Listen, Breeze had 20 years to get there. It ain't Brady's fault he couldn't.
Brady held up his end of the deal.
Yeah, Brady was there 9 of the 20 years. So Breeze got there, just Brady wasn't there at that point. Browns, Steelers, I think it's a close game. It comes down to Baker. And I predicted this last night. I was putting this together before even the COVID stuff. I just, like you said earlier, the play calling, it kind of worries me. They kind of get a little bit too pass happy for my liking. But I don't know. Bad taste in my mouth with the Mason Rudolph thing last week. Pittsburgh pretty much didn't have any reason to try to win that game, and they still probably should have. And they had a chance with that 2-point conversion at the end. I just don't trust Baker, kind of like you. 20, 21, 13. But you guys can win if you're going to have to get pressure. Myles Garrett's going to have the game of his life. You're going to – and with Vernon's out, right? So Vernon ruptured his Achilles this week. So your other premier pass rushers out. Corners out. Like you said, half your secondary got injured before the season even started.
I mean, we pulled a typical Browns thing, right? All this pressure to get in the playoffs, we get in the playoffs, and then 4 key starters are not going to be there.
Yeah. But like you said, getting the stench of being labeled a loser to get off. You did get that. You can trade. You'll have some money to spend because the Browns always do. Chubb's still on a rookie deal. Hunt, you guys got a bar. I think it's 3 years, $10 million. What a bargain to get a dude who probably start on 20 of the other NFL teams.
Yep.
You still got Landry. Peoples-Jones looks like he might be a nice get. You can shop Beckham, get some draft capital.
I think we need to shop Hooper too. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but
here's some Bryant who showed potential.
Because Njoku, he stayed healthy a full season, and with Harrison Bryant, now we have 2 legit tight ends. Right, you don't have to put the whole load on Njoku. Hooper wasn't a smart signing to me to begin with to pay him all that money. So the issue is going to be finding a suitor for him, and we're probably going to have to eat some of that cap.
You'll probably, if Matt Ryan stays in Atlanta, I don't think he will, but if he did, I'd just call Atlanta like, listen, man, he fits you guys so much better. We'll give you him back. We'll take Hayden Hurst on. We'll eat a little bit of money. Hurst isn't a terrible guy. I think he's just not a good fit there.
He works good as a third tight end. You saw that in Baltimore.
Yeah, but he just didn't seem to fit Atlanta this year for whatever reason. So a change of scenery might help both. And Atlanta would love to have Hooper back. They missed him. But this is how I have it set up for the week after this one for the divisional round. Colts, Chiefs, which if you guys remember last year, the Colts actually went into Kansas City and beat them in the regular season. And Tennessee at Pittsburgh, which – that game got moved, twice this year? And then Pittsburgh beat the crap out of them and then about let them come back and win at the end after being, I think, up 28-0. So those would be – you'll get those picks if those happen. We'll do that next week. Tampa Bay at Green Bay. Seattle at New Orleans. I mean, you can't do much better than Brady versus Rodgers and Wilson versus Breeze because even though Russell Wilson, I don't know what's going on with that offense. That offense is struggling. They can't run the ball. Metcalf has been non-existent the last few games. Lockett's had I think statistically he had a pretty good year, but there's something that's been off there with that. Russell Wilson over the first month we thought was MVP, and I don't know what the hell's happened. But their defense,
it looks like he's lost his confidence. I mean,
that's going to be a toss-up game either way. Those two teams have played each other quite a bit over the past few years. And Brady. One team Tampa Bay did beat this year. They beat the shit out of Green Bay earlier this season. So,
but I mean,
Hey,
Rodgers
that's gonna
was
be.
not playing to this level at that time.
But just think, Tampa, Brady, Rodgers, and snow. Yeah, Rodgers used to playing in snow. Brady is too. He doesn't
Yep.
have the unfair advantage that if you had somebody like Jameis Winston coming in.
Oh yeah.
Brady, I think Belichick still hasn't lost in the snow because
Or New Orleans,
cheer.
so was playing in Green Bay, a dome team against Green
Yeah.
Bay. It's an unfair advantage.
Yeah, so that would be a potential issue if they were to beat in the championship because Breeze, he doesn't put a lot of air into the ball no more. But that's what I got. Game-winning drive tomorrow, 9 o'clock. You will get Alex and Drew's picks. We're going to wrap it up. But before we do, like I said, game-winning drive. But we have tons of also awesome shows on the Buzz Network, like this one, Game-Winning Drive, and all these others.
War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them I'm ready, any opponent. The crown heavy and every minute is chosen. A path only fit for kings, and you don't know what this court means. What did you enlist for? If it isn't getting more rings, then you gon' have to switch your team. Trust me, it gets more mean. I'm a nightmare going up against your dreams. First step is explosive like a bomb hit. Bet if I let it fly, I cannot miss. And you ain't got a chance at the top 10 when you getting clamped all night by your locksmith. On the block throwing lobs to my top bigs. I'm a chef, no look with the top dish. Tie game through the pressure as the clock ticks. Crossover, step back, hit a shot, swish. Tell them that's what we ready for. Tell them that's what we ready for. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. This is how champions are made, but it never happens in a day.
It's the lineup. The holidays are over, so we are back to our normal schedule. Make sure to check out all those great shows. Go to whatthebuzz.com. Check out all of our amazing articles. Top 10 list, sports, wrestling. Check out the interview yesterday with the guy off the challenge. Tons of good stuff. Drew and Bakley killed it yesterday. Alex, appreciate you coming on, brother. It's been a while. I have to do this more often. I'll have to get you on after Bama wins 56-3.
Oh, jeez.
But
I won't see you for a couple weeks if we win. I guarantee that. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to see my national championship shirt with number 9 on there.
Whatever.
For our 9th national championship, which Michigan will never have.
Yeah, I got to hear about your national championship, and Michigan is about to give Harbaugh a 5-year extension. Whatever. Like I said, appreciate you guys that tuned in. You can check me out in about 25 minutes, same place. That Arena Rock Show, our second broadcast together as they're part of the Buzz. We're breaking down top 5 female rock stars and bands of all time. We all have our top 5s, and we're going to break those down in depth. So I might know something more than sports, even though I don't know sports that well. I had a rough year betting. I owed Drew like $6,000.
Oh,
but anyway, I'm not the only one around here with a gambling problem, apparently. Yeah, shots fired. Anyway.
Not around here anymore, though. But,
yeah, that's fair. It's gone. But thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys later on. Alex will see you tomorrow. Be safe. Be nice to each other.
Man, appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. And everybody, wear a damn mask. Don't be
Amen.